Hi, welcome to section 9.2, percents in proportions. In this section, another title that often referred to is the is over the of section. So keep that in mind when we're going through. I'm going to reference is over of a couple of times. Just a quick review. Remember how to solve proportions. We'll use cross multiplication. So what you do is you take the numerator of 1 side of the equal sign, multiply it by the denominator on the other side of the equation, set them up on between an equal sign, and if they equal or you solve them. So in our case, we would take the denominator 3, multiply it by 4, put our equal sign, and then on the other side we would have the numerator times the denominator, b times 12. We get 12 equals 12b. We divide by 12 on each side and solve for b and find out that b equals 1. So again, we're going to be doing our cross multiplication, the 3 and a 4, and the b and a 12. So that's our proportion review, because we'll be doing nothing but proportions in this section the rest of the way. So remember your cross multiplication, and also one more hint. If you can simplify, go ahead and simplify one side of the equation right off the bat. That'll make things a little bit easier, and not you won't miss anything and have to reduce further. It'll make it easier for you. All right, our first one, our percent problems. Anytime we're going to solve percent problems in this section, we want to set it up as a proportion. And with all proportions, just like we did, you're going to get 2 out of the 3 pieces of information. In this case, we're going to set it up. Remember how I always told you how to set up our tests. In this case, we're going to set A over B equals P over 100. And A is going to represent our part of the base or our part of the whole. When you're thinking of this piece, think of it as it's the part, like on a test, the part that you got right. What did you get right? The part of the whole. So if you got 45 right out of a 50 question test, your part of the base or part of the whole would be 45. That's going to be your numerator on one side of the proportion. Your denominator is going to be the whole or the base. Again, go back and think of the test. It is going to be how many points was the test out of. That's your whole. So on one side of the equation, we'll have the part over the whole equals P over 100. And the P is going to be your percent. And in some instances, you're going to be solving for the percent, trying to figure out what the percent is. In other steps or sections in this particular area, we're going to try to find A, or the part, or we may be trying to find B. But when we're doing these, between A, B, and P, you will always get 2 out of 3. Okay, so remember that. In our proportions, we had to have enough information. We're going to get 2 out of 3, and that 100 is always going to be there. So that's going to make it easy for us. So we just need to figure out where 2 out of the 3 pieces of information they give us, where they go on our proportion. All right, here's our first problem. Again, we're going to use proportions to solve these problems. A over B, remember, equals P over 100. Our A is the part, B is the base or the whole, and our P is the percent. So it says, what is 15% of 100? This is where the is over the of comes in, and I want you to be very helpful as you're going through to try to figure out what goes where. In these questions, the is going to be your numerator or your part, and the of is going to be your denominator and your base. So what we do is when we're looking at this, fill in the data that you know. Our P is going to be the percent. In this problem, what is 15% of 100? They're telling us what the percent is. It's 15. So we would put the 15 up where the P goes. The next piece they give us is it the is or the of? And your clue is, remember in prepositions, the object of the preposition always comes after the preposition. Well, of's our preposition. The information, so what comes after of, is going to be our base. Sometimes it'll be of what number? In this case, it's telling us of 100. So our base is the 100. That's our total, or our whole. Again, so it's the of. The is, they're asking us, what is it? We don't know what the is, so we're going to be solving in this case for our A. Let's go through an example. Finding the part of the base or the part of the whole. So that tells us we are finding the A. what is 16% of 50? Okay, again, our clue, we have the percent symbol and a number next to it. That's going to be our P. So we're going to put the 16 over 100 in our proportion. On the other side, we need to figure out, are we finding the is, which is the part, or are we going to find the whole or the base? And what we want to look at again, do we have a number coming after the of? Because that's, again, we got to watch our object of preposition. It says, what is 16% of 50? So the information they have given us is our 16% goes over the 100, and our of 50, the of is your base or your whole. So that becomes our denominator here. So that means we are trying to find the part, because we don't know. We're trying to say, what is it? What is 16% of 50? So we don't know what the part is. We only know what the total is, the base, which is 50. So now we go ahead and solve our proportion. Remember, we can cross multiply. That's how we want to solve them. It is very helpful at this point. If you can remember to simplify that, will make things a little bit easier. So in our case, we take a over 50 equals 16 over 100. When we simplify, the 16 over 100 becomes 4 over 25. We cross multiply, and we get 25a equals 200. We then divide each side of the equation by 25, and we solve and get a equals 8. So our a, or our denominator, our numerator, or our part of the whole is 8. So 8 over 50 is equivalent to 16 over 100. Again, if you remember in section 1, we can double check this because we now have 50 times 2 is 100, 8 times 2 is 16. Okay, we're not always going to be able to do that because we're not always going to have a number that easily goes into 100 to check. But as long as we do our cross multiplication and division correctly, we'll be okay. So remember, you're looking for the clues of what information did they give us. In this case, they gave us the P, 16%. Again, remember that percent symbol is your clue for the P. And now I got to decide, am I finding the is or the of? And when I look at the of, I have a number coming after the of. It's I remember, an object of a preposition. So it's telling me I know my total or my base is of 50. What is 16% of 50? My of is my B, and I need to find A. Now it is your turn. What is 24% of 50? Again, looking at this one and any of these, they're giving you the P, and then there's a number coming after the of. So that's your clue that that's going to be your base, or your B, or whole is another name for it. Okay? All right, let's move on. So now we solved to try to find A, or the part. Here are some problems where we're going to try to solve for the base. And again, watch the clues to see how you know whether you are trying to find the part or the whole. And again, we're going to use the part is the is, which is your numerator. The of is your denominator. So the question is, 90 is 75% of what number? Again, I always go for the obvious. I have a percent symbol with a number there, 75%. I know that is going to be my P. And now I got to determine, do I have my is or my of? Again, go and look at your of. It says of what number? The object comes after the object, or the object of preposition comes after the preposition. So of what number? I don't have a number there. So this is telling me I am trying to find my base. And also I can go and look at my is. It's telling me 90 is 75% of what number? So my is, it says 90 is 75%. So I have my numerator. In this case, for the most part, the number is going to come before the is. That's, again, another little clue to help you out. So when I set this up, I'm going to set up a proportion. And remember, of what number? I'm trying to find my base. So I'm going to set up the information. I'm going to put information in my A, my numerator, which is my part, or my is. Here, I'm going to set up information for my P, because I know the percent, and I just have to solve for B. When I set in my information, I put 90 over B equals 75 over 100. Step 2, we cross multiply. Again, great spot here. If you can simplify, go ahead and simplify. It'll make some of your multiplication and division a little bit easier. And we can reduce 75 over 100 to 3/4. And so now I do cross multiplication. I get 3 times B is 3B. 90 times 4 is 360. I then divide by 3, and I find that B is equal to 120. So my base, or my whole, is 120. So 90 is 75% of 120. So that is how you find the base. Again, the clues are they're going to give you the percent, and they're going to give you the is or the part. You need to find the whole or the base. Okay, your turn. Again, remember, we're trying to find the base. Take a look at the clues again so you remember the piece of information that they give you and how it looks, so you know whether you're trying to find the base, the percent, or the part of the whole. All right, our last piece. So far we had to try to find the part, and then we had to try to find the base. In this one, or this example, we're going to try to find the percent. We're going to use the same steps as previously. We are just going to set up a proportion, and in this case, we're actually going to have to try to find P. They're going to give us the part, they're going to give us the whole, or the is over the of, and we're going to have to find the percent. Step 1 is just like everything else. Set up your proportion with the information provided. Step 2, we cross multiply. But first we got to put in our numbers. 17 is what percent of 20? Notice again we have our of 20. So our object comes after the of. Our of is going to be our denominator. So 20 will be our denominator. We have 17 is. 17 will be our numerator. And again, another hint, we don't have a percent symbol here. We don't know what percent. It's not telling us how much. So that's our clue to say this is going to be a problem where I need to find the percent or find my P. So I set up my numbers. 17 over 20 equals P over 100. Can't simplify any further, so I'm going to have to cross multiply here. I get 20 times P is 20P. 17 times 100 is 1700. I divide by 20 and I get P equals 85. And then I want to make sure I write it as a percent because it's asking me what percent of 20, and I write it as 85%. Okay, again, in this instance, you are going to find the percent. They will give you the part, and they will give you the whole, or they will give you the is over the of. And you will be finding the percent. And it'll ask you, what percent is it? So in this case, the 17 is what percent of 20? We put 17 over 20, and we find out that that's 85%. Take a look at that problem that we just did and how it's set up. See if you can think of another way that we have learned to solve for that percent. We have learned it. See if you can remember. Think of an acronym I gave you. Matter of fact, I think we mentioned it not too long ago. All right? If you know it, write it down right before the start of this. You do your turn problem. But we do have another way that we can find a percent. And your hint is, how do I tell you to find your test scores? All right, your turn. These are the last problems. This is the last piece of the section. I hope everything went well. Please make sure you follow the same note steps that we have been doing in the past. Even though you don't have a sheet of paper to do it, you're going to get a chance to do it on your own. Show all your work. Make sure you set it up correctly. And get ready when you come in. If you have any questions, please write them down and be prepared for our discussion.